So this week in art we're going to be looking at making your portraits from last week into pop art portraits. So you're going to be bringing a bit of colour to your sketches from last week and you're going to make them hopefully into the pop art style. So just to remind you, this is what we looked at before, the pop art style, looking at portraits. This one was of Marilyn Monroe, the famous actress. And what I'll be looking for is 3 portraits, so starting off with your 3 sketches. They need to be set out in a row like here, so 3 in a row to make it look like a repeating pattern. So we'll have a look at the portraits here briefly. So remember, we're looking at highlighted for the main features. You can still see the shading, that's quite evident there. And again, it's set against a bright background. We need to remember background. So I drew a sketch, a portrait of myself, and you are going to start off a bit like you did with the objects, but this time you're going to be doing your portrait, and you'll need to have 3 of these, so it's going to be in triplicate. So you need to have 3 of the same image, and they should be fairly identical. Now I just copy and pasted mine because I've done it on my iPad, but you might, if you haven't got an iPad, maybe you can trace it or photocopy it or scan it in some way. Otherwise you've got an awful lot of work trying to produce the same picture 3 times. You need to set it out in a row of 3, really important, to show the repeated pattern, because I know that some of you forgot to do that last time, so it's really important that you get that set for when you present it to me. So the pop art background, so we're going to start with a brightly coloured background for each of the sketches. Now I'm going for very bright, and I'm keeping with the same sort of palette of colours, slight changes, so it's not like last time where you're set with a certain amount of colours, but I have introduced the same colours in, if not 2, into 3 of the sketches. So you can change the set of colours that you're going to use slightly for each picture. You're just going to apply it in a different place to where you put it in the previous sketch. Remember that colours applied are not normally associated with real life because it gives it a graffiti look. Remember when we looked at the pictures before where the actress had a blue face, so think not real life but something that's going to be quite eye-catching, and it will make it stand out. So I started off adding some colour to the hair. Now you're going to need to use a bright colour for each of your portraits as well. You can still see some traces of white underneath there through the strands of hair that I've coloured, and these for me acted as markers where I put an accent colour on top to give it a bit of texture. You'll see what I mean on the next slide. So it doesn't have to be a solid colour. So I coloured in the face again with bright colours, and what I did was I used darker shades of the same colour to highlight the main facial features. So for instance, in the first portrait I used a dark green for the features and the shading, with the lighter green as the base for the face and the neck. The darker shade was applied first, because if you do the base you will probably lose the detail of the features that you drew before. So apply the dark shade first so that the features don't disappear into the base colour. It will just save you a bit of time. I applied lighter streaks of colour to the hair to try and cover up the majority of the white, to give it that little bit of texture to the hair. So you can see that in those 3 pictures there. So this week you're going to need to copy your sketch so that you have 3 of the same picture, so 3 portraits of yourself. You'll need to choose a set of colours, and you'll need to vary where the colours are applied on each portrait, so no 2 portraits should be the same. Make sure that each portrait has a brightly coloured background for full pop art effect. Now this is important because I know some of you last time forgot the background. That's just as important as the actual portrait colouring as well. So portraits must be presented in a row of 3. To give it that full pop art effect, they need to be presented in a line. Evaluations. So what do you like about your work now that you've finished it? And what do you feel you might change if you had to do it again? And if you could write those opinions in full sentences, please, make them nice and clear. I'm going to be strict again, so please note that only work uploaded with both your pop art portraits and your evaluations can be graded as a whole assignment. So there's no point sending a portrait without your evaluations, because the evaluations are just as important in this particular assignment. So I need both, please. If you have any questions, just message me. Good luck.